You want to see how we do it in the pros?
Changing your swing is about repetition without repetition. You don't just hit 500 balls with this thing and change your swing. You also don't just hit 500 balls without a thought.
Welcome to Earned Not Given.
So you win Bay Hill, you win the Players' Championship, and then you miss a 6-foot, 11-inch putt, and every moron on the planet now starts to say you can't putt. I'm so over the internet. I'm so over these trolls because I was so excited to see Scottie Scheffler dominate again.
Yeah, and I think the thing that I go back to on this tournament this past week is, you know, he had the 3-putt on Friday night or whatever, and he misses the one on 18, which again, 6 feet 11 inches, 7 feet. PGA Tour average make percentage from there is what, 50%, a little over 50. So still, like, I mean, it's not like it was like 100% must make. You know what I mean? It wasn't a gimme putt by any means. Now, some of these guys saying that he should have made that putt probably give themselves that putt when they go out and play around the golf. Like, oh no, this is good. But the thing that I think about for Scottie, the putt doesn't bother me. It's the drivable par 4 where he chips it up, it comes back down the hill, he chips it up, it barely stays up. Those are the strokes that I look at and I think, well, next week he needs to have that dialed because I think he's been putting fine.
Yeah, and I just think it's pretty important for everyone to realize he's got almost everything dialed. And as you go on one of these runs that Scottie's on, I think you start to live in this like microscope. You're in this petri dish where everyone's just analyzing everything that you do. Let's remember, he's not at 100% health. He's dominating. He's in a place where he's trending. I don't think you ever don't want to win. Yeah. But if there's a time where you don't want to win and you come in second, and then now you have this monkey off your back, like, do you want to win 3 in a row, then take the Valero off and then go into Augusta? Or do you want to go into Augusta saying, hey, you know what? Hey, everybody, you're right. I can't putt. I came back from nowhere on the back 9, chased down the leader, and all of a sudden, I'm ready.
Yeah, I think too. I think he alluded to it on earlier in the week that like maybe the neck was bothering him, or he wasn't 100% fully there. And for him to be right there again on 18 and have a chance, like, it just goes to show the dominance that he's really putting on display. And next week, if he even has an inkling of what he's been doing the last 4 weeks, I mean, I don't know how you pick anybody other than Scottie to win Augusta.
Yeah, and I was thinking about that driving in this morning, and I don't know if I'm going to pick anymore because I don't know how much you're tuned in, but Smiley Kaufman has started to do something like us, and he's had 3 picks be correct in the last 6 events. He called this one. So instead of me saying who's going to win Augusta, I think I might just call Smiley and ask him because he's on a run.
Yeah, I don't know how guys do this. I watch the CBS sports show, which I have a graphic that I want to show you something during this podcast. I watch the Golf Channel guys as well. They do a great job, and they seem to always have, like, at least their guys are in the top 5. My guys miss the damn cut every week.
Yeah, well, I think we got to stop picking with our heart and start picking with our brains. But, there's also, besides the men's professional golf this week, I think it's really important. We haven't done a really good job of talking about women's golf on this show, but I think it's really important to acknowledge what Nelly Korda just did, right? She just won 3 in a row. She's dominating at another level, and it's so impressive. If you're an aspiring young female golfer, or if you're just a golf fan, you have to be tuning in and seeing what Nelly's doing. It's absolutely inspiring. It's amazing. The way that she handles the fans, the way that she handles the media, the way that she is just so authentic is so refreshing. I've always been a Nelly fan since I had the privilege of walking around junior golf tournaments and watching her smoke my girls week in and week out. But Nelly is just truly the future of female golf.
I mean, how cool is it for TaylorMade to have the #1 women's player in the world and the #1 men's player in the world? I mean, they've got to be, through the roof with excitement because it doesn't look like either of them are slowing down currently either.
Yeah, and I mean, we obviously had Julian here last week, and he talked about how impressed and how excited and how inspired he was with the work that he did with Eric Dietrich. And Eric's just casually flying under the radar right now. He's got Joaquin Neiman, who has multiple wins. He's got Carlos Ortiz, who's won. He's got Nelly Korda, who's won 3 times. If you're a player who wants to get better at putting, I'm pretty sure you might want to send a DM to Eric because it is unbelievable what he's doing.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good segue too to talk about Live Golf this week. I mean, Eric's out on the Live Golf scene, pretty much every time they have a tournament, and the fact that he's coaching Joaquin, who is, I think we would both agree, the premier player right now over on Live, just with his form. I think that's so awesome. The fact that, and also, Eric's connected to the academy, so it's really cool for us. But what are you thinking about Live Golf this week?
Yeah, I mean, I think as we look at Live Miami and as we look at what happened last year, right? Obviously, Brooks won here in Orlando right before Augusta, and then he went on to do what he did at Augusta last year and just make waves in the golf scene to say, hey, look, Live is relevant when it comes to preparing players to play in major championships. Miami's going to be an amazing opportunity to see some of these guys really ball out. If I had to make a prediction, I think, we just talked about, hey, let's not bet with our hearts, but I really believe that someone, right, from the Crushers is going to dominate, or I guess someone from the Crushers is going to crush. But I would like to see that team continue to go on the run that they've gone on. From a team side, I think the Crushers win. From an individual side, I think it's really, really hard not to think that you're going to put your money on Joaquin to win again this week.
Yeah, I think that's a great pick, and the Crushers are a great pick. That team has been absolutely rolling this year. And also, Augusta coming up, that is one that Bryson wants. So I was going to pick Bryson this week, but I think I'm going to go with Brooks. I really feel like, he really turns up for major championships, and we're getting close. And that's when I think Brooks shines the most. So I think he's going to show us a little something this week, and I think he'll have something to say down the stretch at Augusta, I believe, as well. So I'm going to go with Brooks for individual, and then riding with the boys for the team win with the 4 aces.
Yeah, I was a little concerned here when you went down that road talking about Brooks, and then it was like a Yankee fan coming in here with a Boston hat. Like, I didn't know what you were doing. But, yes, I think you have very good opportunity to see your 4 aces do well this week. I think just in general, that golf course always creates some drama. While we're sitting here, it's windy. It's going to be windy this week. It's going to be awesome to see these guys get ready.
Yeah, I'm really pumped to see how that goes this week in Miami. I'm excited to see what goes on over in Texas with the Valero Open this week. My boy Ricky's back. Rory's playing this week. I haven't done a full deep dive on the field, I'll be honest with you. But I'm really looking forward to seeing the guys like Rory and Ricky play this week and see where they're at. Rory needs a green jacket. I think at this point, I think that's safe to say. Like, in his career, if we're missing anything, it's that. And then for me, this is the first time Ricky's been back at Augusta, and at least didn't play last year, and I don't know if he played the year before that. So he's got a good track record there, but he really hasn't hit the ball too great this year. His putting's been okay. So what I would like to see is some good golf from those 2 guys specifically heading into the major, because in my opinion, when you have guys like Rory and guys like Ricky, fan favorites, big names, playing well in the majors, golf wins. And I think that's what, I don't want to say we've coined that term on this podcast, but we talk about it a lot. And I really think if those 2 can heat up and take some good form heading into Augusta, I think we're going to have a really good major on our hands.
Yeah, and I think also in golf this week we have something really, really special, which I think the entire Masters organization, Augusta National, do an incredible job when it comes to the Augusta Women's Amateur. And if you're a golf fan, you have an opportunity to see Champions Retreat. You have an opportunity to see the best girls, amateur girls in the world compete at Augusta National. It's amazing. And so I would just encourage you, if you're a golf fan, to tune in and watch that, because it's going to be amazing. There's some incredible storylines. There's some incredible players, but it's just one more opportunity to see the best golf course in the world on national television.
Yeah. And I saw yesterday, I can't remember if it was Augusta or if it was one of the networks, but they put out the whole schedule for next week. And literally from like 8 a.m. till 9 p.m. every single day, Monday through Sunday, there is coverage at Augusta National. And I think, we talk about, the game moving forward and how guys like Smiley have done a great job with making the broadcast better. I think on weeks like this, when you can do go to the range and you can see the guys hitting, or maybe you see guys play a couple holes in their practice rounds. Obviously, we're going to have the par 3. Like, that stuff I think is huge, and it creates this anticipation as the week builds on. Monday you're like, all right, I'm excited. Then you get the par 3 on Wednesday, and then it's like, okay, well, we're playing Thursday. And I think the more golf can do things like that, and I don't want to nitpick, but things like that is, I think, where LIV is kind of lacking at the moment. I think they could pick up some stuff from this and add a little more to the broadcast just so there's that anticipation. And I think seeing that schedule got me really excited for next week. I really like where golf media is trending, and I hope that this is the status quo, I guess, for the rest of these big events and the majors going forward.
Yeah, I think it's great. I think anytime that we can see the game improving and we can start to see media covering both sides of the sport, not just the men's side, not just the PGA Tour, but this week we have a unique opportunity, right? We have the most premier women's amateur event in the world. We have LIV in Miami. We have the PGA Tour in Texas. It's going to be incredible, right? And I think last night, right, I stayed up super late last night watching women's basketball, and it's amazing to see Caitlin Clark and what she's doing, and to see how women's sports are starting to sell out stadiums more than men's sports. And I think it's something that I could rant on for hours here, but being a girl dad and being someone that wants to have my daughter inspired by the next generation, whether it's Caitlin Clark or it's going to be the girl that wins the Augusta Women's Amateur or it's Nelly Korda, I'm just really, really proud of women's sports, and I'm proud of the media for starting to get behind it.
Yeah, and I think it's been a long time coming. So this week has been a great representation of that. You couldn't get on social media last night without hearing about that Iowa LSU game, then followed by USC and UConn. I mean, what a great, first off, evening last night for women's sports, but it seems like it's just going to bleed into the rest of this week. So that's really nice to see. And again, like I said, long overdue. But I told you I had a graphic for you that I saw on the podcast, and I just want to see. So this is 2024 Masters Tournament odds to win. I'm going to give you number 5. You're going to try to give me 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay? Number 5 is Jordan Spieth.
Number 1 is Scotty Scheffler.
Yep.
Number 2 is Jon Rahm.
Jon Rahm's number 3.
Number 2 is Rory McIlroy.
Yep.
So no disrespect to Rory McIlroy, but I don't know what algorithm they're using to do that, but it's certainly not your current golfing form.
This is exactly why.
Okay, so Rory McIlroy at 2, that's cool. Like, good for you, buddy, but you're not going into Augusta as number 2. But we got Scotty, then we got Rory, then we got Jon Rahm, then you got Joaquin Niemann at 4.
Another LIV player.
Wow, they're gonna put Brooks there. So you got Brooks there, then at 6, are they gonna put Joaquin Niemann?
What if I told you they don't have Joaquin Niemann in the top 10?
So, and that's what's exciting for me.
Yeah.
When I look at these graphics and I look at people, while we know that it's changing and there's a difference, last year at this time, people were saying, can a live player even play 4 rounds of golf? Do they have the stamina? This is just an exhibition. They can't contend. And then we saw not only one live player, but we saw maybe the patriarch of live last year dominating at Augusta, right? Phil came out of nowhere. Do I think that this year there is a potential of multiple live players inside of the top 5? I absolutely do. And I'm a big fan of the underdog. But actually, instead of the underdog, I'm a big fan of the guy that says, I'm going to show you. And I think if I had to take 3 players that are going to look at every player in the field and say, I'm here, I'm underrated, and I'm going to step up, I think you have 3 players, right? Obviously, Jon Rahm is not underrated as the defending champion. Jon Rahm has something to prove at Augusta National. Joaquin Niemann has something to prove at Augusta National. And then I truly believe one of the players who is currently flying under the radar but has an amazing opportunity to dominate at Augusta National is your boy, Dustin Johnson.
That's exactly what I was about to say. I was like, I look at all the, I try to watch as much golf content as possible, as you know. So I've been seeing a lot of people's really early Augusta predictions. And the fact that DJ is being left off of top 10 lists, to me, is wild because he's been playing good golf this year. And I said this early on in the year. I saw something on his social media in January where it was very apparent that he and his team are committed to getting back to where he was. And so far from what he's played, it looks like he's trying to do that and he's getting there. And we're going to see this week. I think this week's going to be a really good test and show of where these live guys are at. But to not have Dustin Johnson somewhere near the top of your prediction list, to me, I think is crazy.
Yeah, I think when we look at all of this, and I'm not one, and I know we talked about, hey, we should do our power rankings, and maybe we can talk about it. But for me, I cannot believe that Rory McIlroy is ranked ahead of Joaquin Niemann. I cannot believe that. I know that Wyndham got injured and is not at full health, but how do you not have Wyndham Clark inside of that top 5 as well? Obviously, Augusta is a unique place, and it takes many, many times around that golf course to really understand how to play. But last year we saw an amateur first time at Augusta contend. So I think that trend of you need to be in your 5th, 6th Masters tournament to really contend. Sam Bennett obviously proved that wrong. Do I think that this year we're going to see another amateur do what Sam Bennett did? I don't know. It's always fun when you do see that. But what I think is going to be more impressive than seeing an amateur at the top is going to be that storyline of what does Joaquin do with his special exemption? What do you see from past Masters champions? What do you see from some of these guys that want to get that Masters championship? A player to me that we talked about at Bay Hill who's, game maybe isn't in the strongest form right now, but a player who I think really will step up at Augusta is going to be Victor Hovland. And I think when you look at what the characteristics of playing well at Augusta National are, it's someone that loves the big time stage. It's someone that can make putts when you have to make putts. Yes, Augusta is not one of the most difficult driving golf courses on the planet. It's a second shot golf course. You have a lot of uneven lies. You have to understand how to play shots to access those flags, whether it's from a downhill lie or an uphill lie or a side hill lie. There's really the only flat lie at Augusta National is on the range, right? So when we look at these players, what is going to be the commonalities of a player inside of the top 5 this major champion, this first major championship of the year? I think it's going to be someone that has tremendous confidence in their game. And I don't think that means they have to be trending, but I definitely think that means that they have to know that they can win a major championship. And when we listed those top 5 players, I just don't know if Rory believes right now that he can win a major championship.
I think something that gets overlooked every year when it comes to this tournament is that we almost always encounter some type of weather. Almost always. And you have the mental game going on of playing in a major championship, right? And let's be real, most people's favorite major championship. Add on to that now, depending on what tee time you get, you may get just a shit draw and you just don't have good weather. Who's going to be able to battle through that mentally and go out and play good golf still and keep themselves in the tournament going into Saturday and Sunday? I just think that doesn't get talked about enough because it seems like almost every single year at Augusta, whether it's Thursday or Friday or Saturday, Sunday when Tiger won, it was even like wet and damp and dreary. There's always weather. And I just want to see who battles through.
Sorry to interrupt you, but I do think that Augusta's unique, right? It's one of the golf courses that is the best manicured golf course on the planet. The sub-air system obviously makes it handle weather differently. The one thing that's unique about Augusta is those lies get very difficult when it gets wet. We saw that with Tiger last year, and it wasn't so much that the leg couldn't hold up. It was that the leg couldn't hold up in the cold and it couldn't hold up in the rain. So what are we going to see? I don't know. I guess this is my time to say I just hope somebody reminds Patrick Cantlay that we could play in less than 4.5 hours.
Yeah. Patrick Cantlay he's a unique character. We should do a pod on Patrick sometime.
I'd prefer not to give the guy the attention of a podcast. I just think, he's just not for me. He's not my guy.
Let me ask you this. So watching Full Swing, watching Patrick Cantlay and the whole hat situation, what's your take on it? Me and you have never actually talked about this. Like, even off camera, me and you have never talked about this. Do you buy what he was selling and why he wasn't wearing the hat? Or do you think it's because he wants to be paid for going to play in the Ryder Cup?
I mean, I'm a pretty vain person. I like my hair. I definitely am in the sun every day. If I was getting married the day after the Ryder Cup, I probably didn't want one of those crappy little hat tans. So it could have been as simple as that, is that his fiance said, "Hey, buddy, let's make sure you don't look like a moron in our wedding photos." But it's pretty hard not to think that there was something else. I think that the undercurrent would be different if it didn't involve Rory. I think Rory, seeing that passion and seeing that excitement and seeing that energy from him and Shane in the parking lot and Joe LaCava, it was awesome. And that's what makes the Ryder Cup so special, is that energies are super high. And do I think Patrick Cantlay didn't wear the hat because of another reason? I think probably Patrick Cantlay didn't wear the hat because he's not a team guy. And that's probably a bigger problem. But even just talking about that, I'm remiss to say I think we missed a really important name when we were talking about Augusta and who's going to be there. And if they're willing to put Rory at number 2, and his game is where it is, why the heck are we not talking about Justin Thomas? And why can't this be the year that Justin Thomas wins? I think when I look at what he did at the start of the year, his game was really good. I think he's a player that if you could put all the players on a table and we could just pick one to say, hey, who do you want to win? Justin Thomas is one of those names. For me, I want golf to have to figure something out. So I definitely want a live player contending. But if I had to pick one name to say, hey, let's have this guy win because he's just such an awesome guy that everyone enjoys, let's let JT win Augusta.
I've been riding JT this year, so I think it's coming. And I think that I think he can play well at Augusta, and I'm not going to be mad if he wins, but I really want him to save it for the PGA this summer because it's going to be in his hometown in Louisville, Kentucky. So I just think that story, I look at it from a content perspective sometimes. I think about that Full Swing episode when JT lifts that trophy in Louisville, Kentucky. I mean, that's going to be sweet.
Yeah, well, I think he has a greater chance of lifting that trophy in Louisville if he shows great form at Augusta. So I don't necessarily think he needs to win, but I think he needs to put himself in a position where he's coming down the stretch and he has an opportunity. And Scottie Scheffler is the greatest ball striker since Tiger Woods. Yeah. So it's really hard not to think that a ball striker emerges. Another phenomenal ball striker, Brooks Koepka, right? Another phenomenal ball striker, Joaquin Niemann, right? When we start to look at these players that could really contend, yes, they all have the same similar DNA. In a dogfight, you'd want them on your team. In a major championship, do I think that JT can come out there and dominate? I think it would be awesome. And I'm really excited to see Jordan up there too. Like, I think that golf always could use a Jordan Spieth story. Jordan's one of the most amazing people when it comes to interacting with fans. And I said that about Nelly, and I'll say that about Jordan. If you go to a tournament and you watch the players that take the time to engage with the fans, inspire the next generation, and truly cultivate the fan base, Jordan Spieth has to be at the nucleus of that.
Yeah, and another one, and you're gonna get on me for this, but it needs to be said. Another one who's good at that, and I think almost has always had something to say on Sunday when it comes to Augusta is Ricky Fowler. He's always played well there. He's missed maybe one or two cuts in his career, but there's a guy who I would say used to be a pretty good ball striker. I don't know where it's at now. This is why I'm excited to watch him play this week and see after a couple weeks off where he's at. I just look forward to seeing a guy like that. Obviously, I'm biased, but I think golf would like to see him play well. The U.S. Open last summer, not just me, who is a big fan, but I think the golf world really was rooting for him and wanting him to get it done. And you go to a place where it's his favorite major. He's got some good success there, and he's been really close to getting it done, just hasn't, which is sadly probably the story of his career at this point. But I look forward to seeing him play because, like I said, he's been out for a couple of years. It seems like that itch to be there really got to him. You know, him and Tiger watching it together a couple of years ago. I look to see him play well, and I'm not honestly, I can't bet down here in Florida anyway, but if I was, I'd be putting money on him to be in top 10, top 5.
Yeah, and that's awesome. And I think everybody just needs to start to get excited for that event, start to get excited for the future of golf. It's going to be amazing. So I guess let's take this in a little different direction, but what is it about Augusta that makes you feel like it's the best major championship of the year? Or what is it about Augusta that makes you feel like it's the best tournament of the year?
Well, I think it comes down to the amount of really cool finishes we've had in the tournament's history. I remember watching Bubba win when I was growing up, and I wasn't even playing golf, but I remember his shot from the pine straw. I remember sitting there. I was at my cousin's house. My uncle's a big golf fan. He was our baseball coach. We're getting ready to I think it was just us three going to practice, just us three. And we had to wait because we had to see how Bubba was going to finish. And I remember watching that, and it's stuff like that. It's moments like that stick with you as a golf fan that you don't forget. You remember where you were. You remember what you were doing. And Augusta just has so many of them. So for me, why I get excited is, you know, this year when I watch it, I'm going to be on my golf trip with the boys. But I'm going to remember being reined in Roanoke, Virginia in 2019, sitting on a couch with my 3 best friends, glued to the TV watching Tiger Woods win again. That's why I think Augusta is so exciting, is the memories that you have that aren't necessarily even related to golf. Just you with your friends, you with your family, and it makes you happy to think about it.
Yeah, you think that 2019 victory was the greatest Masters victory of all time?
I think it has to be, right? I mean, you're talking about who it was, what he came back from, the leaderboard on Sunday. For him to get it done, I don't. And again, like I've said in this podcast many times, I didn't really start really watching golf till 2014. So maybe I'm not qualified to say so, but the amount of golf that I've went back and watched and really dove into, I don't know how you could argue that that's not the biggest win, not just at Augusta, but maybe ever.
Yeah, I think that's what's so cool about Augusta. Whether it was Danny Willett's win, or it was Patrick Reed's win, or it was Jordan Spieth, or it was Bubba Watson, all those Masters champions will forever be Masters champions, and we'll all get to see them on Wednesday night at the Champions Dinner, and that's something special, right? They get to go to the Champions locker room. But when we look at what are those greatest Masters victories, you look at 97, you look at 19, you look at 86, and yeah, you're absolutely right. Maybe 97 was one of those ones for me, right? At that time, that was the one that took me from a multi-sport athlete thinking about, is golf really cool, to golf's the greatest sport in the world when you have this guy just dominating golf the way that Tiger did in 97. But to see Tiger come back in 19, that was the resurrection of golf, and that's what we needed. So I hope whoever wins in 2024, it can have some sort of butterfly effect to the game of golf like Tiger did in 19.
Yeah. And I really hope, I think the media and the golf world has placed a lot of pressure on Joaquin because of how well he has played and how he didn't automatically qualify for the major, or for not just the Masters, but all the majors, and he should. So I feel like there's this unneeded pressure on him going into Augusta, and what I really hope is that he just goes out and plays his game, because if he does that and he blocks out the noise, he's going to play well. I just hope that he doesn't go in there because you're going to have a lot of other, not even golf media, just sports media there because it's Augusta. It's different than the average PGA Tour event.
I don't think you have to worry about Joaquin. I think Joaquin knows the task at hand. I think he's a gamer. I think he's confident. I think his golf has been trending in the right direction. And it doesn't matter if it's Jim Nance or if it's Rich Lerner, or if it's Scott Van Pelt, or if, it's one of the media people in the media room. When they ask Joaquin if he thinks he can win, it's not like he's faking it. He truly believes he can win, and I hope he does.
Yeah. I really hope he does. I do too. I just feel like we see these stories happen a lot, and I feel like sometimes if that player doesn't reach that standard that the media has already placed on him, then it's like, he was never legit anyway, and I just don't think that's the case. And I don't want to see that happen. So that being said, we got to fix the world ranking points. I mean, it's past due. That guy should not be having to qualify for majors. He should be in.
I agree. But let's get to the task at hand. Somebody's walking away with a new pair of cowboy boots this week. Who do you think is going to walk away with the new pair of cowboy boots?
Oh, dude. I mean, every time I pick somebody, they miss the cut. So let me not pick Ricky. So maybe he'll play well. If there was going to be somebody that could go back-to-back and do something like that, that's not Scotty Scheffler, and you're not probably going to love this pick, my guess would be that it's Rory. Okay. If there's somebody that could win this week and then also turn around and win next week, I think the only one in that field right now, to my knowledge, would be Rory. Like, I had this conversation last night with one of my buddies. I would prefer Ricky not win this week because I don't think he can win back-to-back weeks. And I'd rather him win next week. Okay. So because of I want to see some good golf heading into Augusta, and I think the storylines would be insane, I'm going to pick Rory, but only because of that. I'm not going off current form, which people can get on to me about. I'm going off of storylines, so I'm going to pick Rory.
I like it.
Who else is in the field? Let's take a look.
Let's pull it up. You pull it up and tell us who we got.
Okay. I gotta give you the power rankings. You want that?
You give me whatever you want to give me.
You want top 10?
Sure.
Top 10 power rankings this week. Alex Noren at number 10. Billy Horschel at number 9. EVR at number 8. Harris English at 7. Brian Harmon at 6. Ludwig at 5. I never say this guy's name right. You always get it right. Say it. I don't want to ruin it. Yeah, I always butcher it, and you always get on to me for it. He's at 4. Matt Fitzpatrick at 3. Hope he misses the cut. Sorry. Hideki Matsuyama at 2. Corey Connors at 1. You have your sleeper picks and Max Homa at 12. Rory at 11. Akshay at 13.
Akshay played good last week.
Yeah, he did.
Brian Harmon.
Yeah. You know what? Also a guy I could see winning back-to-back weeks.
Well, let's just take the task at hand. Who's getting those boots? I'm going Brian Harmon. You're going Rory McIlroy. We're going to be honest here and say that I'm probably going to tune into the Augusta Women's Amateur more than I'm going to tune into the Valero Texas Open. And there's no doubt over the weekend I'm definitely paying more attention to Miami than I am to Texas. So just so no one gets on us and says all we do is talk about LIV or all we do is talk about the PGA Tour, I'm paying attention to the Augusta Women's Amateur. I also am going to go out on a limb and say Connecticut takes down Iowa in the women's Final Four. And then I think we're going to see NC State, UConn national championship game. Paige Beckers gets it done. Shout out to my dad, who's a diehard UConn women's fan. So that's going to take place. And then the Augusta Women's Amateur, I think, well, I'm going to keep my pick to myself because there's too many girls in the field that probably watch this and don't want me to pick them. So,
if we're just going outside sports picks here, New York Yankees are winning the World Series. I think that's undeniable at this point.
That.
No, I've seen all I need to see. It's done. Yankees winning the World Series, and I think Austin Matthews is going to get 70 goals this year after getting 2 last night. So my sports world right now is like going really good. So inevitably, whether it be Ricky, the Leafs, or the Yankees, it will get screwed up sometime soon. So,
well, guys, enjoy the weekend of golf. We're going to do a few smaller podcasts leading up to Augusta. We're going to have conversations. We're going to bring on some guests here that obviously can give some insight into Augusta or how they're getting their players ready for Augusta. We'll walk down memory lane and talk to some of the guys here who we've all had privileges of being at Augusta with players. Just enjoy the week and remember that where you tune in is where your loyalty is, and your loyalty doesn't have to be to one specific tour. If your loyalty is to golf and seeing the sport grow, take some time. Tune into the Augusta Women's Amateur, tune into Miami, and of course, tune into the Valero Texas Open.
You want to see how we do it in the pros?
Changing your swing is about repetition without repetition. You don't just hit 500 balls with this thing and change your swing. You also don't just hit 500 balls without a thought.
Welcome to Earned Not Given.